Hello, my name's Hannes, this is Painting by Letters, and today I want to start a new project. In today's video, we're starting project 4 of this channel, scenery. Let's be blunt, I need scenery. I've now built a gaming board and I have nothing to go on top of it. In the past, when I've had people around and things like that, games have always been on a flat table and I've used things from around the house, be it books, camera equipment, cases, deodorant in one case. I genuinely wish that was a joke. We pretended it was a watchtower. A model sat on top of it once. Anyway, never mind. The more I've thought about this style of playing games, it's very nostalgic. It brings me back to being sort of 12 years old in school and playing on tables, but it's just not that immersive, is it? It's just not really what we're all here for, I don't think. So I want immersive gaming experiences. That's really my goal. So the plan, make a lot of scenery. I do want the scenery to be in different styles, and I would also like to use this as an excuse to try different techniques. I want to have enough in storage that I can create as many different types of table as I want at any given time. And as well, let's have some fun. Let's mess about, let's see how it goes. So yeah, to kick this project off, I've gone and bought this box. I say I bought it, it was actually bought as a present for me while I was on holiday with my wife. And there is so much in here. It's huge. You could easily cover an entire gaming board with this stuff, not to mention the fact that you get 2 sets of battle mats as well. The quantity of scenery is genuinely insane. One of the nice things I think about this is I can hang on to maybe 60, maybe 70% of it after this video and use in subsequent projects as well. I think that's going to be a really nice way to sort of blend different pieces of scenery together. So in this video we're going to be building some of this stuff. It's really nice quality, and on top of that there are a couple of extra things that I'm going to be doing as well. I really want to have a go at inks. I see quite a lot of people online messing about with mixing inks together to get different metallic colours, metallic inks and things like that, and they always look really good. Inks are one of those things that's often scared me a little bit, so I thought I should give them a go, and I also thought I should give Dirty Down Rust a bit of a go, as I've been hearing quite a lot about it. Wrapped up with that is the fact that this was done in my kind of mad week of hobbying, that obviously the last video was about as well, where I built pretty much an entire gaming board in 1 week. I also built the scenery to go on top of it, and a unit, all in 1 week. So this is video 2 of 4 that were all shot in the same week. So yeah, the scenery from this set that's in this video was done in 1 evening. So in a really weird way, I think this is quite a good demo of what's achievable in 1 evening. If you've not seen this box in person, it's absolutely huge. And I'll be honest with you, it is a little bit daunting when you first get it home. This was a gift from someone, and so it was sort of important to me that I sort of gave it a proper shot despite it being a little bit daunting. And then here's sort of the sad bit, really, it being a gift. Honestly, it's also a little bit boring to build. There's a lot of very similar pieces in here, and that is absolutely amazing for producing huge boards, but it's a hell of a lot. I think I saw a Reddit post the other day where someone was showing a panel, just one panel, and they'd spent 4 hours on that one panel, and they said afterwards that they looked down into the box and it was just completely depressing with how much they still had left to go. I built it all at once. I wanted all the panels built, I wanted all the columns built, or at least ready to be built, so that I could sort of stick things together. And so I did sit down to do this in 1 evening, and when I say that, I mean I literally finished work I think at about 4 o'clock, logged off, closed the laptop, set the camera up in about 20 minutes, and then started going. And I have, I think, about 4 hours of me very carefully going through this set, all recorded, and then my camera battery died and I was there for the rest of the evening. I thought I'd do it all in one sitting, and it really did take the the entire evening. If I'm honest with you, building it sort of put me off doing anything else with it as well, given that it's very monotonous. Lots of the panels are very similar, there's not much variety, and it really did take a little bit of time, I think, before I could properly look at them again. That's fine. I mean, I think that the nice thing with this is the versatility of them and the fact that I now have this huge cavalcade of scenery in the back pocket for any project I might want to use them for in future. And I'm really happy with that. And I'm glad I sort of bit the bullet and did it all at once. So I think if you're coming at this set at any point in the future, get hold of a copy. I think GW is still selling them in stores at least. Genuinely go in, pick a box up and just resign yourself to the one evening of building, because once it's all put together, it does work. I'm just going to say really quickly before we sort of move into what I'm going to be doing in this video specifically, bit of a warning, the whole idea of this set is that you can disassemble it and reassemble it. It doesn't work. It absolutely doesn't work. Some of the panels slotted together and unhooked really, really well. Some of them, on the other hand, just you push them together and it was nigh on impossible to separate them. So I would say, just from a bit of experimenting on the evening that I built them, pick a map that you want and glue that together in sections. You'll see me doing that in this video, but I would recommend that you follow suit if you ever pick this box up. So I thought I should just sort of lay it all out for you. I mean, you can kind of see here just how much you get. There's so many walls and columns and top pieces. It's really insane. And if you're ever looking for something to supplement scenery, I would recommend it. It is a bit of a hefty buy-in price, but all said, compared to other GW products, this isn't that bad. To put it another way, because I've been staring at them online a lot, this is roughly speaking not that much more expensive than something like a Knight, right? You know, a Chaos Knight, for example, might from Games Workshop be about £105 and this will be about 130. So it's not that much more. And in this case, you are getting kilos and kilos of plastic. Whereas with the Knight, you might just get a couple of 100 grams really at the end of the day. There's a lot in here. Obviously, there is something to be said for the fact that the design work that would go into the Knight isn't going into this. So, you know, the cost is somewhere else. But I'm just trying to point it out that you really get a lot in here, and it's quite admirable actually. I have bought scenery from other companies recently for this series that I'm now working on, and another set of scenery that I bought that was roughly the same amount of price came out to about a quarter as much as this one. So really, in the grand scheme of the market, this is surprisingly GW being vaguely reasonable. Something to think about at least. While we were setting them out, me and my wife sort of sat down and worked together to try and find a fun use of a decent amount of the set. I think I said in the intro that it was about 70%, but honestly I don't know how much it really is. This table for reference is about 4 foot in length, and you can see that it's covering easily 1/2 or so then of a gaming board if you wanted it to. I didn't get out the board that I built in the last video to show this off, but I do have some images when me and a friend were playing a game on it of this literally covering about 4 foot by 2 foot area quite effectively. And again, it's maybe a third of the box, something like that. A lot of the flatter panels and some of the columns, I left them for future projects because I thought they would be slightly easier to use for different things that I might want to in future, because some of the long sort of 2-piece panels come with the columns stuck on and some of them come with them separated. So the ones with them separated I've kept for future projects. The one with the columns already sort of pre-on I've kept for this one. This map that we end at here is what will be painted in this video, and it will be done in one evening. Off screen, primed black, covered in lead belcher. That was my start. With this scenery project, I want to do a couple of things, but the main one really is to have a bit of fun. I think sometimes we can get too entrapped with working on sort of one thing and just having a bit of an opportunity to do something creative, something slightly different than traditional Warhammer painting. Seems like a really good idea just for keeping the motivation up and things like that. And for me, some of the best and greatest joys in this hobby is when you just try something new and you kind of forgive yourself if it goes a bit wrong. So I wanted to experiment with these. I went out and I bought some inks. I've been really interested in non-traditional metallic colours. And so I got some inks from Liquitex. They are very thin but come in some really nice and deep metallic colours. I got some Daler Rowney inks that are very opaque and they mix beautifully, by the way. And the other thing I wanted to try was Dirty Down Rust. We hear a lot about this online. It's really become sort of one of the very popular products. And so I sort of wanted to try that. So from Liquitex, we've got the metallic inks. From Daler Rowney, we've got more traditional inks. And then from Dirty Down, we've got this rust. My plan was, I had one evening, how quick can I paint all of these panels, get something together using all of these. Initially, I started with the Liquitex inks. I realized at this point that I've actually destroyed my plastic palette. So I was using the box that the inks came in as a palette, which is this kind of awful clear plastic thing you can see. These inks are beautiful. I really want to say that. I'm about to be very critical about them. They are beautiful. I've messed about with them off camera, just doing some other creative things that aren't Warhammer related, and they're stunning. They are not, I think, for this hobby. They just did not work with the lead belcher at all. I'd paint them over and they'd immediately retreat from the edges. My suspicion is that because the lead belcher spray does have quite a gloss finish, that these just don't work on something glossy. And they even do say on the back, to be fair, that you should sort of rough up an area if it's not sort of paper or card. I didn't do that because it was a model and they didn't really work. Something I have done off camera is I've gone and bought a decent amount of matte medium for a future project, and I'm curious that if I could mix these inks with the medium, maybe they'd work slightly better. All that included, it's such a shame just because of how beautiful these inks are. I mean, I'm about to praise the Daler Rowney ones a hell of a lot, but these ones are much nicer. The colours that, particularly for the metallics that they've got, are just stunning. So I think some experimentation is probably required. As I say, mixing them with mediums, things like that. I might get a bit lucky. You might never see these in a video again, I don't know, but they're really, really nice. So if you're looking for some sort of art hobby supplies, I would recommend these inks. If you're thinking about Warhammer painting, I probably wouldn't. Then I moved over to the Daler Rowney. I did a couple of metallic mixes, trying to mix it in with the Liquitex. That worked quite well actually to reinforce the Liquitex and to make it much better on the model. But then I just switched to the red from Daler Rowney, and oh, this red is really nice. It's so thin. In one coat, it's a completely opaque cover. It's just beautiful. I end up covering this model in quite a lot of washes and rust and things like that, and in the finished product that red just stands out so much. A couple of days after experiencing this, I ended up in a Hobbycraft, which is a chain in the UK that does supplies for a whole range of different hobbies, and they had a wall of Daler Rowney, and I walked straight up and I bought so much. I've got an idea for an army that's going to be quite heavily reliant on their inks as well. It's really, really good stuff. I know that quite a number of YouTubers, I think particularly Midwinter Minis, have praised these inks before, and I'm definitely on side. They're really nice to use and I will be using them a lot for miniature painting. As I say, I do think the colours from the Liquitex are actually nicer than the Daler Rowney ones, but the Daler Rowney ones are just so lovely to use. So if you've been on the fence, try and buy some. Amazon's range is horrific, so you're probably going to have to go to a specialist store, but I would recommend them. I used a black wash over a lot of parts just to kind of give a little bit of depth. I don't think it shows up brilliantly on camera, so I've not really edited it in, but that was something that I did do off camera. And then I went round with the Dirty Down Rust. As you get recommended online, I heated this stuff up like mad, and I went really, really heavy. It sort of worked. I definitely need to experiment more with this paint. It looks really, really nice, but I think I just went way too heavy with it. At this point, I sort of stopped. I watched a couple of tutorials online. Again, I was trying to get this all done in one evening, and they recommended going back over with water. So once I'd done the rust, and again, it was really heavy, I made a watered down version of the rust, slopped that all over a swell, and then went back over again with just water on the brush to kind of clean bits up. It works, I wouldn't say I was brilliantly happy. I definitely overdid it. This is definitely my fault. I think the advertised idea of it being sort of magic in a bottle sort of escaped me a little bit. But I do still really like the effect once I'd done the next step. Because once I'd sort of failed with this, honestly, I walked away for about 25 minutes, had a breather, made myself a cup of tea, and then I just thought, you know what I could do to fix it, to bring everything together, because I've been using different ink types and the dirty down rust and washes and things like that. I just decided to dry brush the entire model with a silver. This brought everything together really quite nicely. I don't think these models are my traditional quality, but for scenery it doesn't really have to be. You never really expect scenery. And with this case I got to experiment with new things, and this dry brush just dragged all of those parts together and really gave it a very cohesive look. So I am by no means going to claim that this is the best scenery job in the world. It clearly isn't. When you get really up close to these models, I think the quantity of dirty down that I used does get a bit too thick. I don't think it quite works. In some of the areas that I've watered it down a bit more, it looks a little bit better, but some of the bits of pooling just haven't quite worked. However, those inks were just stunning, and even the fact that they were completely flat with some dirty down over the top and then a dry brush, they look completely at home. Quite a lot of the doors I'm really happy with across the set. The thing is with this set is when viewed really up close, some of the effects do break down a little bit, but even this distance from it, it looks really good. You know, this usually when I paint, I say I paint to a tabletop standard, but I do pick up and inspect my models and I look at them quite closely, and I like them to look good at a decent distance. You know, most of the things that I shoot on this channel, I'm shooting with lenses that can get quite close, have quite close focusing distances, and I like showing models quite blown up and at a decent scale, particularly when shot in 4K as these videos are. You can see lots of the mistakes, but I think they look really good that zoomed in. And that's all I really aim for, that it looks good. It doesn't have to look perfect, but it looks good. This doesn't at the same scale. It really does, the effect does break down if you get too close to it. But playing the game last weekend with a friend, and I put these out, and he was sort of amazed by them. Just at that scale of separation, when you take sort of one step back, when you're, 50 centimeters, a meter away from them, they look really good. So that's sort of my thinking. If you ever need to paint some scenery up in one evening, just to scatter around your tabletop, I think the method I used here is almost perfect. Spray them with silver of some kind, use some inks to pick out some odd bits of detail here and there, but don't go too overboard with it. Then dirty down rust like mad, then go in with water and wash a lot of that rust off, and then dry brush over the top. The effect at the end of the day is really good when it's on a table. I've got I think it's about 70% of this kit left. So at some juncture, I'm probably going to sit down and do a much nicer job with different panels on this board and try and make something. I was thinking about building something that I could display models on using it or something like that. That project will be done with a lot more care, but this is brilliant scatter terrain. If this falls off the table, I don't care. If this gets knocked, I don't care. It exists to sit on a table and to give some theming, and it does that in spades. Since shooting this video, I've gone out and I've bought more inks, I've bought more sort of, I guess you'd call them talent in a bottle techniques and things like that, and I really want to experiment with this style. One of the things that I'm thinking of doing is having a whole army literally painted with inks, or having inks built into them somehow. I'd really recommend it. I'd give it a go. And if you've been thinking about this box, by the way, seriously, it's not actually that bad value for money. The thing that always put me off is the 130 quid price tag that is not comfortable. But when you think about the amount of plastic you actually get here and how usable it is, and the fact that that could be 3 or 4 projects worth of stuff, it's not bad. This is enough here that, you know, if you think about my gaming board with the 2 sides and the middle, I could cover one of those sides with this and it would be enough. And this is like 30% of the set. It's huge. So yeah, I would actually recommend it. I think there are things that I could do to improve it. I think I should probably do some of the lights, some of the consoles and things like that. Although the panels I've picked don't have that many of them on. So maybe a thought for when we do subsequent sections in later videos or something like that. But I really had fun with this. It was just nice to pick something up, to not care if it was a bit crap, to just see what I could do in one evening and to have some fun with some stuff I've never touched before. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. It's been a pleasure as always. My name's Hannes, this is Painting by Letters, and keep safe out there.